Once upon a time, in the heart of Nigeria, there lived a beautiful princess named Adaeze. She was the daughter of the great Igwe Ekeinde, ruler of the wealthy Igbo kingdom of Umudike. From a young age, Adaeze was showered with love, riches, and every luxury imaginable. As she grew into a woman, Adaeze's beauty became legendary, drawing suitors from far and wide. Princes, nobles, and wealthy merchants from across the land sought her hand in marriage. However, Adaeze had an air of pride and arrogance about her. She believed that no man was worthy of her exceptional beauty and status. One by one, Adaeze rejected every suitor that came calling, no matter how wealthy or powerful they were. "I am a princess deserving of a king, not some lowly noble or merchant," she would proclaim haughtily. Her father, the Igwe, began to worry that her unreasonable standards would leave her unmarried and alone. In the neighboring village of Akunma, there lived a kind and humble hunter named Adaeze. Though poor in material wealth, Adaeze had a pure heart and a deep reverence for the spirit world that guided his people. He could often be found making offerings at the sacred groves and consulting the village dibia, or spiritual elder. One day, while hunting in the forests near Umudike, Adaeze became lost in the thick brush. As night fell, he stumbled upon a clearing bathed in an ethereal light. There he saw the most beautiful woman he had ever laid eyes upon. It was Princess Adaeze, though she appeared almost spirit-like, glowing with an otherworldly radiance. Adaeze was so stunned by her beauty that he could not turn away. However, the princess paid him no mind, for in her pride she did not deign to notice a simple hunter. As the sun began to rise, the vision of the princess faded away like a dream. From that day forward, Adaeze was bewitched by the image of the proud princess burned into his mind. He began neglecting his hunting duties, wandering the forests day and night in hopes of catching another glimpse of her celestial beauty. After many fruitless searches, the distraught Adaeze sought guidance from the village dibia. The old wise man listened carefully to his tale before explaining that the princess must have a spiritual connection that draws her to the sacred groves at night. "You have been blessed with a vision from the spirit world, a sign that this princess is destined for greatness far beyond the riches of mortal men," the dibia proclaimed. However, her pride and arrogance could lead her to ruin if not humbled. The dibia instructed Adaeze to make a special offering at the grove where he saw the princess. If the spirits willed it, they would allow him to encounter her once more and guide her to her destiny. With renewed hope, Adaeze followed the dibia's instructions faithfully. As the full moon rose one night, Adaeze found himself again in the mystic clearing, the princess bathing in its ethereal light. This time, however, she turned towards him, her eyes locking with his. In that moment, it was as if a veil had been lifted and Adaeze saw Adaeze clearly for the first time, not as a lowly hunter, but as a person of pure spirit. From there, a strange event transpired that could only be described as spiritual. Princess Adaeze and the hunter Adaeze became inextricably linked, though neither could fully comprehend how or why. All they knew was that they had been brought together by powerful forces far beyond their understanding. Word soon spread of the unlikely connection between the proud princess and the humble hunter. Adaeze's father was beside himself, appalled that his daughter would take interest in a peasant boy who could offer her no riches or status. The Igwe summoned all of Adaeze's wealthy suitors, promising her hand to any man who could break her peculiar bond with Adaeze. One by one, the suitors tried to turn the princess' attentions back to money, jewels, political power, anything to make her forget the hunter. However, none could sway Adaeze, whose soul was now bound to Adaeze and the spirit world he revered. As a last resort, the Igwe offered a kingdom's ransom to any sorcerer or dibia who could undo whatever supernatural force had enraptured the princess. Adaeze was imprisoned in her chambers and surrounded by various spiritual protections while the most skilled mystics worked their magic, all in vain. During this time, Adaeze himself was brought to the palace and thrown into the dungeon. He remained steadfastly calm, guided by a deep spiritual certainty that the events unfolding were part of a greater destiny mapped out by the spirit realm. After months of failed attempts to separate the bound pair, a powerful storm ravaged the kingdom of Umudike. The skies opened with deafening thunderclaps as if the very heavens were judging the Igwe's hubris. In the deluge that followed, the palace was flooded, swept away along with the arrogant king's riches. When the rains finally cleared, there stood Adaeze and Adaeze, hand in hand and untouched amid the ruined kingdom. The once proud princess had been stripped of her material possessions and worldly status. Only then was she made humble enough to see Adaeze not as a peasant, but as a nobleman whose spiritual purity far outshone any amount of riches or political power. From that day, Adaeze renounced her old arrogant ways and pledged herself to the path of the spirit world that had guided her destiny. With Adaeze as her partner and teacher, she embraced a life of humility, reverence, and harmony with the unseen forces that truly rule over mankind. In the surrounding villages, tales spread of how the proud princess had shed her ego to marry the humble hunter, now revered as a great spiritual leader. Some even believed Adaeze to be a prince from the spirit realm, sent to guide Adaeze to her enlightenment. The once wealthy kingdom of Umudike was abandoned to the encroaching wilderness as its few remaining citizens scattered to simpler village lives. On the ruins of the decadent palace, Adaeze and Adaeze built a sacred shrine to the spirit world, a place of contemplation, sacrifice and guidance for all who sought it. And there the enlightened couple lived out the rest of their days, tending to the hallowed grove, serving as conduits for the divine spiritual forces that had brought him together against all odds and privilege. To the end of their lives, the parable of the proud princess served as a powerful lesson on the virtues of humility, wisdom, and faith in the great unseen truths that govern our existence.